Kapil sir, you have to unmute yourself.
तो रोज कार्तिक का काम है ये बताना, आज आपने बता दिया.
We can start now, Karthik.
Yes, Kapil, we can start.
Okay. Good morning, all. On behalf of the organizing committee for this online classes for MA Part 1, English, first semester, prescribed by Rashtrasant Tukaroji Maharaj, Nagpur University, Nagpur, from academic section session 2020-21. I welcome you all to this 10th day of the online classes. We will be going through the third unit of paper 4, that is the English novel. The prescribed novel is Mansfield Park, and the resource person for the session is Dr. Priya Wanjari, who is principal and head with teaching experience of more than 22 years. Madam is a member of Board of Studies in English at Rashtrasant Tukaroji Maharaj, Nagpur University. She is a member of Syllabus Designing Committee, a co-founder of Cynical, that is a peer-reviewed journal. Ma'am has authored more than 5 books, and most of the books are prescribed as reference books in various universities. She has received international recognition from Indian Achievers Forum and has been conferred with Bharat Ratna Shiksha Award by Global Society for Educational Growth for Excellence in Academics. Her books, the books edited by her are prescribed at the various programs of various universities, BA, BBA, BCom, of Nagpur University, of Kalidas University, Ramtek, and other universities as well. 3 students have have been awarded PhD under her guidance. On behalf of the 4 organizing institutions, Rajkumar Keval Ramani Mahila Mahavidyalaya Jaripatka, Mahila Mahavidyalaya Nandanvan, J.M. Patel College of Arts, Commerce and Science, and Vasantrao Naik Government Institute of Arts and Social Sciences. I welcome ma'am to this session and hand over the mic to her for conducting the class on Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kapil. I am indeed fortunate to have this chance to conduct a class on the Jayanti day of Vandaniya Rashtrasant Tukaroji Maharaj.
Okay.
Vinamra Abhinandan to this great leader, great person, and we all belong to Rashtrasant Tukaroji Maharaj. So indeed, it is a coincidence. At the outset, I would like to extend my thanks to all the conveners of this online Master of Arts English class line, Dr. Sunitra Mahajan Patil Madam, Dr. Vikas Dhomne Sir, J.M. Patel, College Bhandara, Principal, Dr. Urmila Dabir Madam, Principal, Keval Ramani College, and Chairperson of Board of Studies English, and Dr. Vandana Bhagrikar, a friend, Principal, Mahila Mahavidyalaya. I would fail in my duties if I don't recall 2 very close colleagues' names, Dr. Kapil and Dr. Karthik, who are behind this successful program completion of MA Part 1. I think we can share the screen now.
Sure, madam.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the topic given to me, or basically which I selected, was Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. Jane Austen has always inspired me, attracted me, and I can also add that I am a great fan of her writings, her novels. The reason being that Jane Austen has the particular knack of dealing with worldly issues, or as she sees them. Before going to the main detailed text, let us see the background. If I'm not forgetting anything, we have to start with the background. And we have the novel of Sensibility, contribution of Henry Brooke and Henry Mckenzie, novel in Romantic era, contribution of women novelists, and of course, we'll go to the detailed text. The novel of Sensibility, as we all know, is an 18th century literary genre which celebrates the emotional and intellectual concepts of sentiments. The sentimental novel complemented social trends of the time towards humanism and the heightened value of human life. The literature focused on weaker members of society, such as orphans and condemned criminals, and allowed readers to identify and sympathize with them. In the 1760s, the sentimental novel developed into the novel of Sensibility, which presented characters possessing a pronounced susceptibility to delicate sensation. Such characters were not only deeply moved by sympathy for their fellow men, but also reacted emotionally to the beauty inherent in natural settings and works of art and music. Among the most famous sentimental novels in English are Richardson's Pamela, or Virtue Rewarded, Oliver Goldsmith's Vicar of Wakefield, and Henry Brooke's The Fool of Quality. These are the novels which we can basically deal with the novel of Sensibility. We move ahead to see the contribution of Henry Brooke and Henry Mckenzie. Henry Brooke, birth year 1703 to 1783. We can see that Brooke tried The Fool of Quality, which is a very famous, best known. He is known by The Fool of Quality, one of the outstanding English examples of the novel of Sensibility, a novel in which the characters demonstrate a heightened emotional response to events around them. And Henry Mckenzie, 1745 to 1831. Henry Mckenzie believed that whatever we do, it should have, he was born in Edinburgh to an eminent doctor father, and he himself practiced law. He had all the things which a lawyer should have. But basically, he earned more money in his legal practice than as a literature. Novels in Romantic era. The Romantic period lasts about 40 years, from the French Revolution in 1789 to the Reform Act of 1832, and is sometimes called as the basic of revolutions. But the reign of terror in France began in 1793, and the period of Napoleon followed rapidly. And we can see the Romantic period was basically for poetry, but gradually the prose writing developed rapidly. Romantic writing is mostly poetry, as I earlier told. Wordsworth and Coleridge wanted a revolution too, in poetic language and in themes which contrasted with the earlier Augustan age. Then the head controlled the heart. Now the heart controlled the head. This is what Romantic era can be described. In Europe, Romanticism was different. Music and art, politics and philosophy were all steered by the Romantic spirit. But in Britain, it was limited to a few poets, but they changed the face of English literature forever. Thomas Love Peacock, whose work was written in the Romantic and Victorian period satirizes some of the main romantic ideas and lifestyles in novels such as Nightmare Abbey, in which the main characters are based on Coleridge, Byron, and Shelley. The novel, how was the novel developed in the Romantic era? During the Romantic period, the novel grew in popularity and became one of the major sources of entertainment for middle-class citizens. Authors began to tailor their writing to appeal to this audience, and Sir Walter Scott gained popularity during this time. He mainly wrote within the genre of historical romances and made a viable form of fiction for later writers. Scott also focused on his home country of Scotland, often writing about its beauty and romanticism. We move ahead a little and see the contribution of women novelists. Maria Edgeworth, 1768 to 1849, Susan Ferrier, 1782 to 1854, and Maria Edgeworth wrote novels, children's literature, works of education, and plays, the majority of which was published in the first 2 decades of the 19th century. Her first work of fiction set in Ireland, and in January 1800, an Ionic national tale delivered in the voice of long-standing Irish servant of a family of Anglo-Irish gentry. Susan Ferrier came from a family which was well known in Edinburgh society. So what used to happen? She used to write exactly what she used to see in the family circle or in the close circle of her society, which was elite at that time. Hence, whatever she used to write, her authorship was kept a closely guarded secret, as her fictional characters were based on real and recognizable people of her known circle. She, like Jane Austen, liked to publish all her book anonymously. Women novelist contribution, Mary Russell Mitford and Jane Austen. Mary Russell Mitford is a dramatist, poet, and an essayist, chiefly remembered for her prose sketches. And in 1810, she published miscellaneous poems, which was followed by 5 more volumes of verse, including Battington Hill, the dramatic scenes, sonnets, and other poems. Her narrative poem, Christiania, was revised by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. She then turned to theatre, and she tried her hand at theatre, and she was successful. A bit success she got in this line also. Jane Austen is different from other writers of her time because of her main interest in the moral, social, and psychological behavior of her character. And today's author is Jane Austen. We are going to deal with the Mansfield Park, a text which I think has a particular interest because it is a simple story. It is a simple story about a girl. We'll see about the author, who was born on December 1775, and has 6 brothers and a sister whom she was very close to. Jane Austen vividly depicted English middle-class life during the early 19th century. She never married, but was very close to her siblings. Her novels are concerned with a young woman trying to find a place in the social order. She was very much concerned that her woman character should find a place in the social order. Women were not allowed to come directly into business or do any practice. So to establish themselves in a wonderful marriage, prestigious marriage, or a upbringing, or authorizing their social order was very much important. So Austen also tried to deal with this. Most of her works were composed many years previous to their publication. She died July 1817, almost 42 years of age, at England. These are some of the novels by Jane Austen: Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, Mansfield Park, Emma, Northanger Abbey, Persuasion. As a novelist, I have students are the main beneficiary of this online program. So they should get something about the novelists. So this was specially designed for them, so they can get a peek into what Jane Austen as a novelist was. We see that she's a realist. Matrimony, her principal theme. She's preoccupied with the business of making matches for her heroines. After a few false starts, they meet the right man. Some understandings are there. This is the common thing which she deals with, bringing a delay, but never they are not united or something. They are united. Her humor and irony is a weapon which she uses with ironical skill. And basically, her novels are all comedies in which she exposes the absurdities and feelings of her characters. Talking about her humor, it is mild, subdued, and not the boisterous type. Her character portrayal is mainly focused on the women characters, but we can't say that she doesn't give justice to others also. Her study of women are more successful than those of men. The various women characters of her novels, which we have seen, Anne Elliot, Eleanor Dashwood, Fanny Price, are all different. They are not resembling each other in her 6 books. Her limited range. As her stories are based on her personal experience and observation, her range is extremely limited, but within her narrow range, she is supreme. Her characters are true to life, and all her work has the perfection of a painting. About the novel, Mansfield Park was written in 1813. It did not appear. And when it appeared in May 1814, some 1,500 or more copies were sold out in 6 months. So that is a rare feat at that time. And we can also say that it is a even more socially aware novel than Austen's others. Social theme was touched upon, like slave trade, which we will eventually come to know about. And she has dealt with it very nicely. And focusing on the slave trade and the roots of the British upper crust wealth in corruption and exploitation. Mansfield Park is an enormously complicated novel, even by the standards of Jane Austen. It is complicated, though, but the characters and situations are unusual complexities from all her novels. This is the tree of Mansfield Park, but I would like to share with all my students who are watching this or will eventually watch that it is a big novel, nearly 488 pages with 48 chapters. And 2 movies have already been made on this novel. I know of 2. It can be more than that, but 2 movies, established movies, have been made on this novel, Mansfield Park. And it is presented as a family tree, but it is extended like we see here that the main family of the family tree is Sir Thomas Bertram and his wife Lady Bertram. They have Lady Bertram has 2 more sisters, Mrs. Norris and Mrs. Price, Fanny's mother. Mr. and Mrs. Price, Mr. and Mrs. Norris, and Sir Thomas Bertram and Lady Bertram. And this title given to Thomas by Sir is also a rank which is given. It is lowest in the ladder, but still it is a title which is bestowed upon the highly elite class of those times. That is why he is referred to as Sir. And Mansfield Park, he is the owner of Mansfield Park. He has 4 children, 2 daughters and 2 sons, as we can see in the tree: Maria Bertram, Tom Bertram, Julia Bertram, and Edmund Bertram. And they again, we'll see that Mr. Norris and Mrs. Norris have no kids of their own. And the Price couple, which stays at Portsmouth. Portsmouth is the original place where Fanny stays. And there she has nearly 8 siblings, 9th on the way. So we will see this thing about her extended family, but for our information, Maria Bertram marries Mr. Rushworth and she becomes Mrs. Rushworth. And there is one couple by the name of Mr. Grant and Mrs. Grant, who are the clergymen Actually, before the story, the background of the story, this is just for your information. We can go ahead. We'll see the main characters in the form of Fanny Price, Edmund Bertram, Sir Thomas Bertram, and Maria, Julia, Mrs. Norris, Mary Crawford, and Henry Crawford, who are the extended social circle of the family. And the minor characters like Tom Bertram, Mr. James Rushworth, John Yates, Dr. Grant, Mrs. Grant, Lieutenant Price, Fanny's father, Mrs. Frances Price, Fanny's mother, the main heroine of this novel, and Lieutenant William Price, Fanny's elder brother, Susan Price, younger sister. There are more brothers and sisters, but these have the importance in the novel. When we start the novel, before we start the novel, we should be knowing that Fanny originally stayed at Portsmouth with her family of a large family of 8 siblings, 9 siblings, 9th on the way. And when the novel starts, we are shown that Sir Thomas Bertram recollects with the background of his marriage to Lady Bertram 30 years back. And they have 4 children, as I've already mentioned, 2 sons and 2 boys. And Norris is the other sister of Lady Bertram, who have no children of their own, Mr. and Mrs. Norris. And Mr. Norris has been made the clergyman due to the influence of Sir Thomas, and he is residing in the official residence of the clergy. The church allows that official residence to be utilized by the clergymen, and it is Mrs. Norris who suggests to Sir Thomas that we should help a not so financially good sister, Price, by at least bringing one child under our comfort and taking full responsibility of her upbringing. So the background starts like this when the novel starts, and a young girl named Fanny Price comes to live. She's only 10 years of age when she comes to live with her wealthy uncle and aunt, Sir Thomas and Lady Bertram. Fanny's family is quite poor, and her mother, unlike her sister, rich sister, has married beneath her, and Fanny's father is a lieutenant in Navy, disabled and drinks heavily. This is shown at a glance when the novel starts. 10-year-old Fanny is mistreated by her other aunt, Mrs. Norris. It was Mrs. Norris' suggestion to bring her over here, but she is a bit nasty towards her. Maybe because of her background, maybe because of her, like she's doing something out of the box for her sister's daughter. That those things are always at the back of mind, Mrs. Norris. She is a bit nasty. She is practical also, but a bit nasty. And she runs the things around Mansfield Park. She gives orders and makes all the things, because we have shown that Lady Bertram is a bit subdued type. She's not boisterous type. She takes things very easily. And Mrs. Norris runs the things around in Mansfield Park, the Bertram's estate. The 2 daughters are there, Maria and Julia. When Fanny is brought, she is 10. Julia is only 2 years older to her, and Maria is 1 year older to Julia. Like they are of the same age, but they are rather shallow, cruel girls. They taunt Fanny about her backwardness, about her upbringing, about her finishing aspects, which these 2 girls were lucky enough to have a right from the birth, because they belonged to a affluent family. They were well educated, and they had all the makings of a perfect girls, as Sir Thomas very proudly says that I have brought my girls into fine young ladies, that sort of thing. But this thing is not with Fanny, because she has a totally different background, and she is, by the change of situation into this background where her sisters are more well-trained, facing the reality, and she is a bit, she's always referred to as the poor cousin. And but she, on the whole, is happy. The elder son, Tom, is spendthrift and an alcoholic. Fanny finds peace only in the friendship of the younger son, Edmund, who is vowed to become a clergyman. So this is an important background because he has already thought that he'll become a clergyman. And with the blessings of his family, he is ready to become clergyman. Fanny lives with the 4 cousins, Tom, Edmund, Maria, and Julia, and always treated as a subordinate. So Edmund shows her kindness. Edmund shows her a real friendship, and she has got a real friend in the form of Edmund. Thus, Fanny grows caught as she is typically in between members of the Bartram family. We'll move ahead. Everything could not be explained on 3-4 presentations, so we'll go a little ahead, and let me tell you that when Fanny is 15 years of age, her uncle, Mr. Norris, passes away. So Mrs. Norris has to leave the official house of the clergyman. She is settled by Sir Bertram at a village house, and the residence is occupied by one Mr. and Mrs. Grant, who are the new clergymen, very kind-hearted, very down-to-earth, and respectable people. So with their coming and taking charge of the church, a new addition to the social circle of Bartram's family commences. Sir Thomas has his business pursuits, plantations, and slave trade in the Caribbean, Antigua. And at this point of time, when 2-3 years pass by, so roughly 17-18 years old Fanny, he has to leave for his business place, and along with him he takes his eldest son Tom, so that Tom can cultivate some habits in handling his estate, business, all sorts of things. A father's kind wish. They both leave, and these 2 girls, Maria and Julia, before getting confused, I would like to pinpoint Maria and Mary are 2 different girls, so that we don't get confused with the names, similarity of the names. Maria is Bartram, and Mary is which we are going to be introduced now. So they are very happy that their father's figure is not there, and they are a bit free in doing all sorts of activities, and enter the role of another character takes place, which we have seen in the family tree, Rushworth. Sorry. So we see that the addition to the social circle is by Rushworth's entry, and the elder sister gets attracted to him and even tries to, I'm audible, sir? And even tries to form an association. They both get to know each other very well, and they want the official yes of their father when he'll return back from his Caribbean work. So this Rushworth is not very good looking, but he has a very good estate behind him. And then we are introduced to Henry and Mary Crawford. I was telling you, Mary is Crawford and Maria is Bartram. So these 2 sisters' name being similar can get a bit of confusion, but we'll deal it step by step. Henry and Mary Crawford, brother and sister. They are brother and sister of Mrs. Grant. Mr. Grant is the clergyman, and they arrive at the Mansfield Park and soon become indispensable members of the Mansfield circle. At first, Mary is interested in Tom. Now, all sorts of alliances occur. Mary seems interested in Tom because by that time, Tom also returns back halfway, bringing the message that his father is very good at the Caribbean, and he returns back. So Mary is interested in Tom because he's the higher. See, this is very important for Mary. This is an important part. And when she sees that Tom is least interested in her, she diverts her attention to Edmund, and she finds herself increasingly attracted to Edmund. Although the prospect of marrying a clergyman does not appeal to her, and she is often cruel to him on this account. She likes Edmund, or she likes his money. That is a different story. But she tries to discourage him on his oath of taking clergy, full-time clergyman job, and she tries to talk to him about some other aspects also, but soon realizes that it is not of any use to talking to him. And Fanny, in the meantime, who is also grown up with the kindness of the Bertram family, with the atmosphere, her main work is to give company to Lady Bertram. She has been brought here for that purpose only. But bringing up in a household of cousins, she somewhat gets attracted to Edmund, and fallen in love with Edmund is shown. Although she does not admit this to herself, while Edmund has fallen in love with Mary Crawford. So it is a crisscross now. We see that this, with the entry of Henry and Mary Crawford, a lot of things take place. And I've already told you that Mary has given her commitment to Rushworth, and they are waiting for the official commitment. But still, what Henry does, Henry here plays totally smart role. He tries to woo over Maria. The reason being, Maria is a beautiful one, and he feels that she also shows interest in him. At the same time, Henry tries to woo even Julia, the younger sister, for the reason that he feels that Julia is also attracted to him. Henry is good looking, has a considerable amount of wealth, and he tries to play safe with both the sisters, showing interest in both of them at the same time. At this point of time, one Mr. Yates, friend of Tom, enters the scene, and the episode of the theatricals occurs. This is an important episode because in the novel, a drama is said to be played, and Lovers' Woes is the drama's name. And Yates suggests to all the members that we will enact certain scenes, we will play this drama, and we will put some sort of entertainment or some sort of racy scenes in our lives. Actually, this drama, Lovers' Woes, is a bit open, has sexual content, and has very racy scenes. His idea is so eagerly received by all except for Edmund and Fanny. They don't agree to this drama sort of thing. The reason is that they know very well that if their father returns to the estate, Sir Thomas, if he returns, he would not appeal to this drama or theatrical thing enacted or being played at Mansfield Park. The play goes on anyways. However, Henry as well as Mary and Edmund get to play some rather racy scenes with one another. They in pairs enact the role. But when one of the women, initially Fanny had refused that she won't play. And when one of the women cannot make a rehearsal, Fanny is pressurized to take a role. She's almost forced to give in when Sir Thomas makes a sudden entrance. And as expected, he makes the play stop immediately. He has arrived from Antigua, Caribbean. I've given you the background that there his plantations are there, and he has a flourishing slave trade over also there. So when he returns back, and he says immediately, "What have you done to my study? And they shouldn't be enacting such sort of thing at Mansfield Park." And Sir Thomas is unhappy about the play and quickly puts a stop to the improprieties. Since Henry has not declared his love, Maria is married to Rushworth. But before that, Maria introduces Rushworth to her father. Sir Thomas is not very eager that Maria should marry Rushworth. He feels that he is not suitable for his daughter because he can see very visibly that his daughter is not in love with Rushworth. But the thing is, Henry, who is trying to get close to both the sisters, is not ready for a marriage proposal right then. He doesn't come with a proposal to Maria, and Maria feels that it is better to get married to Rushworth because he has a sound financial background. These things used to matter, as I had told you earlier. to make the women more grounded. So she makes a sudden decision. She gets married, and waiting. Julia also sees that Henry is in no mood to make a marriage proposal to her. She also packs her bag and leaves with her sister and brother-in-law to London, off for London. She and Julia leave Mansfield Park for London. Remaining Edmund, Tom, Mary, and of course our Fanny, our heroine. She has been shown to be of a very sound mind, of a very balanced mind. She observes things, and she has a very keen observance. She all the time used to watch Henry's actions of making both the sisters fall for him. So she thinks that Henry is a bit shallow. She doesn't have a very good opinion about Henry. And at the same time, her undeclared love for Edmund is surfacing again and again. But she's seeing that Edmund is attracted, or rather infatuated, with Mary. And in this infatuation, Edmund nearly proposes to Mary several times, but her aloofness always stops him at the last minute. He discusses these things, confides his feelings to Fanny, that he likes Mary, but she is somewhat restricted in her acceptance of this thing. Mary has 2-3 things running, which we'll come to later, that why she is rejecting. One is very clear. She doesn't like his selection of becoming a clergyman. And secondly, she is a bit selfish. She knows they have an elder son by the name of Tom, who will be the legal heir. So Mary is thinking about all such things. And when Henry, in the meantime, after both the sisters have left, turns his attention towards Fanny and tries to woo Fanny. See, Henry, after trying with both his cousins, her cousins, tries to woo Fanny, and Fanny's surprised, and Henry feels that it is love after all, and this is love he's feeling for Fanny. So marriage proposal is rejected by Fanny. This heading is important for this thing. Edmund has his feelings for Mary. Fanny has not disclosed her love for Edmund openly, and Fanny cannot confide this feeling to anyone. In the meantime, a rich man's proposal is coming to her. She should be happy, delighted, but she is mortified and she refuses. Henry continues to pursue her for marriage. Her uncle is disappointed. Edmund is disappointed because Edmund never knows. Edmund feels that this is a good proposal for Fanny, of course. And even Mary, Henry's sister, is very much into it. These three are always pressurizing Fanny to take the proposal. They feel. But Mary discusses this thing with Fanny. Why you're not taking his proposal? Why you're refusing? To this, Fanny replies that I have seen his shallowness. I feel that he is after all the girls that are in front of him. So I don't think, she says that she doesn't think. She has her own individuality. She has her own decision, and she's confirmed. She is not regretting refusing the proposal. Her uncle is disappointed that she has refused such a wealthy man. And as an indirect result, her uncle makes a decision that she has to be sent to stay with her parents in their house at Portsmouth. Uncle feels that going back to her basic surroundings, her low background will make her decide what is best for her. Her uncle makes a decision and sends her to Portsmouth. Fanny doesn't want to go to Portsmouth. She very much wants to stay here. She wants to stay with Lady Bertram as her aide. She wants to be somewhere near Edmund, but she has no say in all this. She is sent to Portsmouth. Tom Bertram falls dangerously ill. And when she is at Portsmouth, 2 or 3 letters are exchanged between Edmund and Fanny. And Fanny comes to know that she was sent for only 2 months, but her extended stay is going to be extended more because Sir Bertram will himself come to take her back, but not before Easter. She feels a bit low because Easter is 3 to 4 weeks ahead. And another letter comes from Edmund that he still has feelings for Mary. Mary and Henry have gone back to London in the meanwhile, but he feels that he'll go to London to convince Edmund. This, by the letter, makes Fanny more nervous because she has liking for Edmund, but she also feels that Mary is not the right person for Edmund to become his wife. She has that feeling because I've told again and again that Fanny is very determined, though she doesn't have that background, but she has an insight into looking into people's ways of thinking. So these two letters make her realize that Edmund is really determined to get his infatuation with Mary ahead and marry. Things go ahead. She's still at Portsmouth. Lady Bertram sends a letter and informs her that Tom Bertram has fallen seriously ill, and due to his liquor addiction or due to his way of living. And an information comes that he has recovered. But with that letter, more information has come, and Fanny comes to know that Henry, who was all the time pressurizing that she should accept his marriage proposal and had even come to Portsmouth to propose marriage to Fanny again, has taken a leap ahead and has eloped with the much married Maria Rushworth. Henry's real nature is out. He is such a shallow person, which only Fanny knew, has shown his true colors. He elopes with the already married Mrs. Maria Rushworth. They had feelings before her marriage, and to put an end to those feelings, they both elope. Sister Julia is with Maria. She feels a bit disheartened. She takes the leap. She immediately marries Mr. Yates, a friend of Tom in London, who is younger to her, and she also elopes. So both sisters eloping. There is complete darkness in the Bertram's house because Sir Thomas always used to feel that he has brought his daughters with dignity and with pride is wrong. He feels that education is not the only thing. He should have given his daughters time for right upbringing. Both have done something for which they'll have to face the consequences. And her uncle is disappointed. Portsmouth, she is there. Tom Bertram falls ill, and Fanny is recalled to Mansfield Park, bringing her younger sister Susan with her. So she has been requested, and Edmund only comes to take her back to Mansfield Park. So she is relocated to Mansfield Park, but this time with her sister along with her. Henry, who has gone not to his estate but to see friends, has run off with the married Maria. Julia, upset over her sister's rash act, elopes with Yates, Tom's friend. Edmund has finally seen through Mary. When she comes back to Mansfield Park, she gets the good news. Good news, in fact, balanced news, because she always feels that Mary is not right for Edmund. It's a selfish love. It can be a selfish love, but she feels that Edmund shouldn't get a raw deal in life because his profession is such honorable. He has to become a clergyman, and Mary makes a proposal that Tom is ill, he should die, so that Edmund becomes the legal heir, so that they are married, and she becomes the legal heir's wife. Mary has such notions with her, and what she feels that Henry has eloped, has done the right thing. She doesn't feel sorry, or she doesn't put the blame game or names to her brother. Henry has done such a wrong thing with the already married lady. He has eloped, but she has no words of sympathy or blaming him. Instead, she goes by his side. So this thing troubles Edmund because it's his sister involved, and he feels that in fact it was only an infatuation, and he's heartbroken. He has given up with Maria's actions, with Mary's actions, and Fanny consoles him because here he is disturbed with Maria's and Julia's actions also. All that starts with a bit of cousin's house, with a bit of background, with a bit of everything, tries to reach towards its goal as per Jane Austen's motto. With marriage in her mind, the marriage of Edmund and Fanny finally happens. But not before that. Mrs. Norris, who is interfering in Mansfield Park, is asked to leave the estate by Sir Thomas. And Maria, who feels that eloping with Henry will make him his legal wedded wife, gets a shock when Mr. Rushworth divorces her, and Henry still not in a mood to propose marriage to her. She comes back to Mansfield Park. Father is not ready to pardon Maria. So Mrs. Norris asks Maria to stay with her. And Julia is somewhat pardoned in the Thomas Bertram's household. And she is pardoned for her marriage or runaway marriage or something of that sort. But she is brought into the house. That means Mrs. Norris is all away from Mansfield Park. Now remain Edmund, Fanny, and the Berthmans. Maria and Henry eventually split, and she goes to the continent to live with the evil Mrs. Norris. Julia and Yates are reconciled to the family. Fanny's constant unconditional love ultimately bore fruit. Edmund finally comes to his senses and marries Fanny. And when he proposes marriage to Fanny, he is more delighted to know that Fanny was throughout in love with him. He is more than happy to know that Fanny never expressed her love, but she was throughout in love with him. And here it is also written that he comes to his senses because his infatuation and true love he realizes. Fanny and Susan takes her place with the Bertrams, and Edmund, Fanny, and the rest of those at Mansfield live happily, while Henry, Mary, and Maria are cast out. Mary is cast out because Henry has done such an act which cannot be pardoned, and Mary is out of the infatuation ambit of Edmund. And Maria has done something which the family is not ready to forgo. Finally, in its resistance to closure, the novel ends with a marriage, but we don't see anything of married life afterwards. Mansfield Park hints at the essential ambiguity of knowledge, but has fixed Fanny's social position, which I was talking about in the earlier part, that Jane Austen tries to establish the social position of her heroines. They may face resistance, they may face hardships, they may face something, but all in all, it ends. And Edmund has been ordained in the meantime for the parsonage before marriage. And all these things, Henry and Mary Crawford are out of the household, and Fanny's love with Edmund is ultimately into a marriage. Fanny is the most modest, humble of her fate, because what happens, Fanny's fate depends on what actions others take. She herself is not in a position to take action. Her life takes a course on what others' actions are. But most active among all of Jane Austen's heroines, Fanny's position as an observer helps us to see exactly what is going on between the various couples, and particularly to note the behavior of Henry Crawford. When he runs away with the married Maria, shows everybody his true colors, true character, and justifies Fanny's stubborn refusal to marry Henry. At that time, it was like that, all become a bit astonished and angry that why is Fanny refusing Henry's proposal? But her in-depth insight helps her escape the marriage of a person like Henry, and she gets married to her person she truly likes or loves throughout her life. So it is a bit ambiguity is there, essential ambiguity is always there, but has fixed Fanny's social position in the novel. With this, we move ahead. Though there are so many characters, but since it involves only one family, we see that the storyline is very clear. It is just a Cinderella sort of story, simple in its form and easy to understand, very interesting to study for all the students, because Jane Austen is very simple in explaining her characters or her things. We'll see the themes. Ordination is taken as a theme. We know that it is ordained, and admission of ministry of church. Jane Austen herself says that ordination is the ceremony at which a man takes holy orders in order to become a professional. Education is also taken as a theme, because we find that Sir Thomas always used to boast education, and my daughters have become very educated, Maria and Julia. But in spite of that, discipline, self-discipline, and humility is also emphasized in the novel. Social mobility is the primary theme in all of Austen's novel. This idea seems especially apparent in Mansfield Park, because in the opening chapter only we see three ward sisters. Three ward sisters means Lady Bathril, Mrs. Norris, and of course Fanny's mother, Mrs. Price. They are ward sisters, and they marry different social category, middle, low, and high. And it is shown that people born into lower social rank should be given the opportunity to move up through their moral behavior. Rags to riches story is there. We see that Maria and Julia have been cast out into the dark world, and Aunt Norris, who is always nasty, though she has given that idea that Fanny should be brought to Mansfield Park, but she's always nasty towards Fanny, and they have to leave the Mansfield Park and live happily. Mansfield Park, and everyone lives happily ever after. Town and countryside theme is also there, which we have seen. A 19th century novel, like all of Austen's major novels, features a central marriage, and the text protagonist Fanny Price lives with her aunt and uncle being sent away by her lower income parents. So, as keeping in part with the tradition of the syllabi, it is a really 19th century novel. And the novel also comments upon increasingly diverging morals between the older and the younger generations. Notably, this is Austen's only novel to directly comment on the slave trade. Sir Thomas leaves the estate to check on his plantations in Antigua. Upon his return, Fanny attempts to ask him directly about the slave trade. Sir Thomas does not answer, as he is a slaveholder, and this is more a socially aware novel of Jane Austen. Because it is a socially aware novel, he is unable to answer, and this social aspect has been touched by Jane Austen very nicely in this novel. So with this, I think my thank you is due. And do we have time, sir? Or we are right on time?
Yeah, I mean, you still have time. I mean, 10 minutes with you, if you want to add anything to it.
I had taken a character contrast in the novel, which was of particular interest to me. And from the students' learning point of view also, it is important, because what happens when the characters are displayed? We read the novel and we learn the novel and we get into it as and when the things happen. But if we look at the contrast, by making a contrast between Edmund and Tom, I wanted to highlight that Edmund is a man of strong common sense, strong-minded kind of man, and earnest to become a clergyman. He has his decision made very well in advance. Whereas Tom takes life very lightly, is shown as an irresponsible person and only interested in horse races and drinks. This is a contrast between two real brothers in a family. Both are in the same household and they have a contrast. He lives to party and has gotten himself into debt. Whereas Maria and Julia contrasted to Fanny. Maria and Julia have all the things which a sound house can offer, like upbringing, money, but they have shallow natures. And Fanny, they are certainly elegant and accomplished. They always tease their cousin as a poor cousin, and always tease Fanny about her less accomplishments. It is always in the novel throughout. You are less accomplished. You are less elegant. Fanny is from a poor background. She never had access to all those things which her rich cousins had. And she, though, is a bit sad, but she's not ill-treated in the household. But Fanny has a very additional advantage of a grave temperament. She lacks elegance, but she has a grave temperament that is very necessary. But she has a high sense of responsibility and gives evidence of her moral integrity. She feels that her work is to give companionship to Lady Bethram. She is there for that work only. She never crosses her lines. She adjusts to the part that she is a poor cousin and she has to accommodate herself with each and everyone. She never feels delighted a rich man and a good looking boy like Henry proposes to her, and she never regrets her decision that she is unable to say yes to Henry. Some characters can show why they have said no to such a good proposal, but she never regrets. So that gives evidence of a moral integrity. Henry and Mary as contrasted to Fanny. Another set of pair of brother and sisters are contrasted to Fanny in the sense that Henry and Mary Crawford are worldly minded. Both they become an extended social circle at Mansfield Park. Their circle becomes extended because of entry of these. They are the clergyman, Mrs. Grant's brother and sister, half brother and sister, in fact. But the social circle they belong to, they are well moneyed, they are well named. But Henry falls deeply in love with Fanny. He tries to woo Fanny, but Fanny she though might lack elegance, she knows that her sense of responsibility refuses to say yes to his proposal. Though he's proposing again and again, even he's coming from London to Portsmouth to propose her again so that she might change her mind. But his elopement with a married woman shows him to be absolutely irresponsible. This was not expected of a sound Henry Crawford. And Fanny, on the other hand, is physically delicate but morally righteous and trustworthy. That is basically shown by Jane Austen in her novel Mansfield. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Kapil.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am wonderfully overcame the challenge of bringing together all the important events which we would be finding in that 488 pages voluminous novel. Isn't it, ma'am? 488 pages, na? This is
Yes.
what, yeah. Really wonderful presentation, ma'am. And everything was covered. Ma'am started with the picture of nice building that we can, with giving us a vivid imagery of how a Mansfield Park, how that building can be. It supported our imagination. Then she explained the background topics, the prescribed background topics. After that, Jane Austen, the writer, was introduced in short. Perhaps seems to be the favorite writer of ma'am. Then after the introduction, the major characteristics of the novel, and that is what were told to us. And after that, ma'am went to the on the contents of the story, and we also had another beautiful slide on the tree diagram of the characters. So all characters were there together on one slide. That is very important for any novel. You should know the characters. That is very important aspect. Their relationship, that is important. As in the end, madam has contrasted the different characters. So we were after that with the tree diagram, the contents of the story, they became more clear to us. Different themes of the novel were told to us, and how the novel is the 19th century novel, that is novel of sensibility. That is what she has told us. So on behalf of all the participants, the students and the organizers, I extend my gratitude, my heartfelt thanks to ma'am for this wonderful presentation. And ma'am has already submitted her MCQ even before the lecture, posted her MCQs. And I think we have received all the 4 MCQs for all the 4 novels. So I announce that this session is over. And before that, I invite ma'am for the valedictory, which is there in the evening at 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Once
Yes,
again.
I'll be there definitely. Thank you very much, Kapil sir, for giving me a chance. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Dear students, we will be having the evening session today at 5, which will be followed by the valedictory session at 6. So the students can join us on the YouTube channel that we have. You just have to stay connected with us. Once Dr. Shafiullah Khan's lecture is over, we'll move ahead for the valedictory function at 6. Thank you so much. So see you in
And Karthik, Shafiullah sir is lecture is on Jhumpa Lahiri,
Jhumpa, yeah, interpreter of melodies by
the interpreter of melodies. Yeah,
interpreter of melodies, diasporic fiction paper.
diasporic paper.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good day. See you in the evening.
Okay. Bye.